Guys, thanks for joining us for another live Sound Engineers 101. This week I speak to Fiona Riches, who is front of house engineer for Tessa Violet and Lucy Dacus. So Fiona, thanks for joining us today. Just start off, if you can just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Fiona Riches, otherwise known as Sound by Fiona. I live in Bristol, which is a fun city to live in. There's loads of music here, which I'm very grateful for. Obviously not right now, but in the past and in the future, we have the most incredible music scene that is so varied, so multicultural. So yeah, I really am proud to live here. I am a production manager, tour manager, front of house engineer, monitor engineer, and RF tech. I don't do all of these at once because I don't have 8 arms, but I do these sometimes paired together, sometimes on their own. And I work in a few different venues here in Bristol, and I also tour in the UK and Europe, and I've been to Russia as well. So
nice.
That's me.
Excellent. What kind of bands is it you look after for under all these umbrellas?
So I work for, in 2019, I did a really extended period with Lucy Dacus. And also in 2019, I was with an artist called Tessa Violet. She's a brilliant pop star, rock star, and I consider myself to be extremely lucky to work for. And not just an artist whose music I love, but who I admire as a person. I think she's incredible and we get on really well. We both drink a lot of coffee, so it's ideal.
Yeah, it's coffee is the thing. I was a Red Bull guy for many years that kept me through many a touring gig and venue. I'm now off it. I go to...
It's the taurine, it messes you up. That taurine is so nasty.
Yeah. My thing years ago before they changed the E-numbers was a can of Red Bull and a tube of Smarties. And that kept me going. You know, it was just flying about and then crash later on. Did you say you're from Bristol?
Yeah, well, I'm from Devon.
But you're in Bristol now?
Yeah, so I've lived in Bristol for nearly a decade now, which is nuts. But I'm from the same town as Muse. That's like the thing. So I was really lucky in that I went to an amazing music school. They put loads of money into music in my school. And yeah, I was a musician for a really long time before I was an engineer. Was always like super curious about it. And then I got really into home stereos because I started collecting records. So I started like repairing and kind of designing systems for the home with my dad because he's a massive nerd like me. And then, yeah, I got into engineering, really.
Cool. What was your journey from being interested in to actually getting paid to be a sound engineer?
So it's so funny, isn't it? Because it's so different for everyone. There's no, like, I feel like you can't just decide that you're going to do it and then go and get a job. Like, you really have to do so much on-the-job training. Yeah. So my journey really was, as I went and hassled the big venue here called the Colston Hall. I just went and hassled them for shadowing opportunities. And I was like, look, I'll just like make the tea and tidy up and I'll stay out of the way and you can just maybe teach me. So I was there for a good while. Mixed some really fun shows there eventually and worked some really cool shows. And that place is just, I mean, like, if the walls could talk in that place, it's such a historic venue.
What's the kind of setup in there?
So I was in the Lantern, which was like the smaller little venue. It was kind of like room 2, and it was just M32, ARCs, SP18s, back probably 400, I'm going to get this wrong now, I think it was about 400 cap.
Right.
It was nice and simple. Like, it was a great system to learn on because it sounded amazing. It was a real shock when I had to go into, venues with rickety old PAs and kind of like figure out. And there was like one bit of outboard and like there's 2 channels of compression and that's it, and you've got to prioritise. But
you're pretty lucky to start learning on something like arcs. And,
100%, yes. So lucky.
Because I own them as well, and that taken me 10 years to get to that point where I actually owned them to even be able to choose to do gigs in them. And because you get some people who are like, they learn on, well, you're on an analog desk, and well, that's how I learned. And man, I
learnt digital first and then had to go back and learn analog.
It's very much like that now, because digital's so easy to use and accessibility. And I've spoke to a lot of like younger guys coming in the industry, and you put them in front of an analog desk and they really get scared. They're so used to
it's good though. The smell. Oh. The smell and the warmth and the personality and the glow, everything.
Yeah. There was a venue in the Glad Cafe here in Glasgow. One of my mates runs it, and a few years back he asked me to help him out last minute because their engineer let him down, and it's not a venue I would normally do. And I said, "Listen, I'll help you out, no problem." I turned up, and it was analog, and I was just so happy because I was just like, "Oh, I get to use my brain." And it was really strange to just go, "Yeah, cool." I mean, I've worked at a lot of analog, but I haven't worked a band on analog for such a long time.
It's such a treat. I love it. It happens so rarely to me, but when it does, I'm delighted.
Yeah. What kind of desks? So it was an M32. What desks have you worked your way up through and over when you were learning?
I'd say, my first paying job after I was an intern was in a really small room here venue called the Old England, and that was just a mix whiz. So
all right.
I had to deal with that. And it was like such a sweet, I've got really happy memories there because it was just DIY, and so they had no money and everything was a bit broken, and the stage box was often called Diego's surprise because everything was like 4 would actually be going to 6 on the console and stuff like that. Every day it was different. So yeah.
I don't think there's many stage boxes or analog stage boxes that are 100% working.
Absolutely, yeah.
There should be a rule that they should never be 100. It's got to have that joy of trying to go when you go, right, the patch is 1 to 10, you skip 3. But that's
so accurate.
Now we've got it easy because you can just go a digital snake and just go, oh, there we go, soft patch, done, easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we did mixers, and then VI1. I've probably clocked hundreds of hours on a VI1 now.
Wow.
If I think about it, which is a great board. I really like VI1. The Lexicon effects are great. I love the grouping.
It took me a while to get used to it.
It's a weird way of thinking. It's definitely different, especially because the EQ is like this big.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you're down and then along for the channels. I stood into a festival a few years back, last minute to help out, and it was a VI one on the stage. Sorry, on the front of the house, and I'd never worked it before. And that was it.
That's tough. That's hard.
So it was flung into the deep end. But obviously after you've mixed 30 odd bands, you luckily it was a few of us on that stage, so I wasn't flung straight into it, but it took me a wee while. But that, like any of the desks, that's the best way to do it. Is
absolutely,
as long as you've got someone there who knows. Yeah. How did you move in from being a sound engineer into the tour management and production management side of things?
I'd say necessity, really. Mm-hmm. Just because on tours that are kind of like the 400, 500, 600 cap kind of arena, like style, so often you have to be able to do 2 jobs. Sadly, the budget constraints are kind of in that way. Yeah. And I really like tour managing. I'm a very organised person, so I actually really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the guys I speak to have ended up doing that, and especially it's the sound engineer who can drive the van and do a bit of tour managing and a bit of everything. It's just a shame that you don't get the double the wage. For sure. I mean, production managing was something I did for the first time last not last year, that was 2020, my goodness, in 2019. And I really enjoyed that because there was a lot more, it was the first time I took my own board out, so I kind of enjoyed that side of it.
There's quite a few of my friends as well, and they've become like guitar techs as well, you know, especially if you're being a monitor engineer, who gets, well, I'm a monitor engineer who can do a bit of guitar teching and a bit of drum teching, then you become a wee bit more of a value to
for sure,
a
definitely.
touring band. And I think that's where a lot of engineers have got to get that way, that they can't just go, no, I'm just an engineer, I'm just front of house, I'm just monitor. Whereas even with probably post-COVID, I think there will be a wee bit more amalgamation of
sure.
You'll be doing
definitely
a lot more if you've got a wee bit more skills to your CV. Even I was talking to Chris Parker the other day, who was a sound engineer, but I ended up learning a bit of lights. And so he now does all of them. So tour, production. He's even done tours where he's been a light engineer instead. Going from, and I thought, wow, that's
wild. Fair play, honestly, fair play, because it's such a different way of thinking. Like, I can do lights. I can busk. I can press the
flash button.
Yeah, that's it. I can. What is the console? See, I've even forgotten. The information just doesn't want to stay in my brain. At Thekla here in Bristol, I put the whole lighting rig back up, which I think was the hardest thing I've ever done, because thinking about in and out just doesn't work in my audio brain.
Yeah, even the fact that the cable's around the wrong way. Yeah,
literally.
That's wrong.
I'm trying to remember. It's Ava Lights.
There's Ava Lights or Chamsis.
Chamsis is voodoo. I don't understand it at all. It's witchcraft. I'm allergic. But Ava, I can like...
I don't have a clue. I mean, I know the basics. I understand DMX. I understand how that works. Put me in front of a lighting board. No.
It's got faders, but they're like wrong. So
It's funny because I know a lot of guys who have come up through the industry, and it's like you learn a bit of everything, and then you decide, I'm going to go down the sound engineer route or lighting route. I think it's good to have an understanding of it, but it's a completely different animal.
Truly, yeah, it really is. I think I know some incredible lighting engineers, like honestly phenomenal lampies and tech, like pyro folks. And I like enjoy it, and I can do it, but I just really love compression and I really love vocal effects. So I stay with that, you know, like I stay with what I really am passionate about. So
I love winding up the lampies, and you just say like, no one goes home after a gig humming the lights, you know.
That's so true. I always steal one of my venues here in Bristol, SWX. I always move the lampies, gaff and steal it and put it in my console drawer and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's what I miss, is just winding up everybody else in the crew.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely same.
We'll get back to it. Would you class yourself, from a sound engineer's perspective, are you a front of house or are you a monitor engineer, a bit of both? What do you prefer?
I really like this question. I love front of house. I think I was genuinely born to mix shows in cities I've never been to with artists I really care about. Like, front of house for me is the meeting point between science and my absolute fascination with the electronic processing of audio and this creative side of me that comes from being a musician for 17 years. So for me, it's that meeting, that middle point. And if you have a great show and you're in your front of house lifeboat and there's just this like people and you're just like safely plugged in and completely present, I just don't think there's absolutely anything like that feeling. It's completely incomparable. Having said that, I've had some amazing times on monitors where I've got to work for artists that I never even thought I'd watch, let alone meet and hear coming through my cue wedge, you know? So I really enjoy my monitor's job. I think is so specifically brilliant because I love the venue and I get on really well with the technical manager. So that's like a really fun job. But I think at heart, I love front of house. Yeah.
I find that I prefer monitors myself. I love both, but I do prefer monitors. But I found that being a monitor engineer, you actually get a chance to work a wee bit more, especially in a venue, because a lot of touring acts, majority of them bring a front of house. Very rarely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it means if you're a monitor shift, you've actually got a chance, you'll be working more that day. But I've managed to get a chance to mix lots of bands who I've looked up to over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I've said this in an interview before, like a couple of years ago I got to do Living Colour, who I'm a massive fan of, and then Andrew WK and stuff.
Cool.
Even last year, one of the festivals, I got to do the Pastels that I grew up with loving. I'm sure my age there, but that kind of stuff that you go flipping 25 years later, you get to do monitors for a band that you used to listen to as a child, and you're like, that's amazing.
That's it.
Whereas the front of house, most of the time you're standing beside their engineer, and you're still involved in the gig, but there's a big, big difference there.
100%, yeah. I've had some incredible times on monitors. There's an artist I really love called Hand Habits, and they were on tour with Angel Olsen the beginning of last year. And Angel Olsen to me is this like goddess-like creature. She is. I adore her music for so long. In some ways, I feel like we've grown up together because her albums have come out during really specific points in my life where I've appreciated them. And I got to do monitors for Hand Habits, their touring support, and also an artist that I love. And then I got to watch Angel Olsen from side stage, and I was just like, how is this my life? Like, how am I the person that gets to do this?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
being on stage is so special. Like,
yeah. And even getting the opportunity, especially at festival season, where you're with a band, but you get the opportunity to watch and see other bands that you have wanted to see. You get to see them from side of stage or closer to them. And a few years back, I had a chance to, where was it? Transmit Festival here, and Radiohead were playing. Getting a chance to watch Radiohead from front of house, and I was standing behind their engineer, just in awe. And the light in the video show was outstanding, but to be able to go, I'm getting to stand where their engineer is, listening to his mix, exactly how he wants to mix, not out in the audience in a random place.
Not the front fills.
And that was great. And earlier and I'm a big Radiohead fan, so I was like, brilliant. And earlier that day I was watching somebody from I think Rag and Bone Man or somebody from Side of Stage, and I suddenly realised that a couple of guys from Radiohead were standing right beside me watching them, but I didn't click until I was just walking away. But they'd been standing beside me for ages, and it was that way of going, your nerves just going, you don't say anything because you're just... Yeah, I wish I had the guts, in hindsight, to go back and say something. But we have these great opportunities to meet heroes.
For sure, and that's the reason why we do the job we do, is because we are absolutely bananas about music. We love music. It's our entire lifeblood, so... Yeah.
I mean, who would choose to do half the crap of sleeping in a tent or sleeping in the back of a van or sleeping in mud and not showering for 4 days and 15-hour days and 15
eating
hours.
Weird food, not eating properly.
It's privileged. Over the years, what's kind of been the highlights that you would say of one of the best gigs you've ever mixed or been involved in? That you just go, you're talking about those gigs, you just go, you feel so privileged?
I got my map. Probably, I feel pretty lucky that I got to go to Moscow. That's pretty cool. Big one for me. It's a bit of a funny story. I grew up as a ballet dancer. Right. So, because my dad's really into like all music, rock music, and then my mum is really into ballet music. So, to actually go to Moscow, which is the home of ballet, and see the Bolshoi Theatre was just like, honestly, like almost holy experience for me. It was really special. And it was just fascinating. It's such an incredible country, like obviously troubled and it's complicated, but the history and the buildings and the people as well were just unforgettable. So that show was really special. I'm trying to think about ones I've mixed. I had a really good show in Melkweg. I'm going to absolutely destroy that pronunciation. The Milky Way in Amsterdam.
All right.
Which was with Tessa in 2019. It was the day that her record came out. So we had maybe 5 or 6 shows leading up to the record coming out, and that was just the culmination. And the PA was just like, it was beautiful. It was so well tuned. I had my set up on my board I was really like locked in by that point. Just had like just such a great show, and the fans were amazing. She has such great fans, and it was just a really, I don't know, the stars align sometimes and you get a really good show, and that was one of those.
When you're out with any of these acts and stuff on tour, do you get to pick what desk you're going to be working on, or is it you're given a production package and there you go? Or
So with Tessa, I thought, because the budget was obviously quite tight, I thought I'd be able to manage on house boards.
Right.
I was like, I can do it, it'll be fine, whatever. And then 2 shows in, I was like, I have to rent a board. I literally need this to happen. So I spoke to Rory Doherty. He's a Glasgow boy, and he hired me his M32. So I took that out, the little mini one. And it was great. It's not like the best sounding board in the whole world. It's not a D-Live. It's not going to have, but for the job and for the budget, it was the absolute perfect tool. It was absolutely what I needed at that point. And I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So
Rory's a good friend of mine. He did one of the interviews, third or fourth.
So I saw, yeah. He's a good boy. Yeah.
What's your kind of desk of choice? If I said to you, right, you're going on tour, budget is no concern. You can have whatever you like.
S6L, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. I had one at Primavera, the Barcelona one, and yeah, it was stunning. It just the way you can customize the workflow, the quality of the audio. It just was like a Ferrari. I've never mixed on anything like it. But yeah, so S6L or D-Live. To be honest, I'm an Amber Heath girl, so I rate their boards a lot.
Cool.
I get on with them really well.
You mentioned earlier on, is it Sound by Fiona? Mm-hmm. So tell me maybe what you do quite a bit of teaching and workshops and stuff like that? Yeah,
so in 2020, the tiny portion of 2020 that was normal, I taught a introduction to live sound workshop for women, non-binary, genderqueer and trans folks and people of colour in Rough Trade, Bristol, which is one of my home venues here. And honestly, it was probably like one of my favourite days or ever that I've done anything to do with audio. It was so rewarding and so fun to see people really excited and interested in audio, because I feel like a lot of people are very curious, especially musicians, as to what the person with the light up fader thing is actually doing, but often don't have the position to ask questions or kind of go, well, why does the mic make that noise when it's near a speaker? So to really just have that environment was just so nice. So yeah, I will be doing more in person in venue ones when the world allows, but this year, no, not this year, 2020, I've been teaching remotely for BIM London, which has been really fun.
Cool.
Just some spec stuff and mic stuff. So
it's good to
it's been really fun.
Good to stay in it as well.
Yeah, it's kept me on my toes for sure.
I know. I was saying this to guys the other day, is like, I feel like the only bit of education I've been getting is by watching YouTube videos of manuals and stuff of how to work desks that I've not worked before. Or finally, Digital, for instance. I mean, I'm an SD series guy, so I had an SD9. I know a lot about the SD stuff, but over the years they never really did many videos or any educational stuff. Yeah,
truly. Yeah, I've always thought that.
And I can remember when I started trying to get into it, and I'd bought the SD9, I'd worked on them before, but to actually dive right into it, I had to just do it and then ask questions. Whereas now they've actually stuck out a whole bunch of videos that have actually been really, really good. And obviously they've probably realised that they've got the time to do that.
To actually do it, yeah.
Yeah, I find that Alan Heath are amazing for that. You know?
So good. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I love them so much as a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love their whole ethos. And I'm really pleased that Digico have done that, because every time I've had to refresh because there isn't a Digico in Bristol. Well, there's one in the O2 and I don't work in there. Right. So I come across them on tour or at festivals, and that's it. So because I'm a Mac user and I don't have a PC currently, I can't even download. So I turn up and I'm like, cool. Where's Phantom Power? Anyone? So
yeah, I don't know if it was originally with Digico you had to go and you could go do their training days at like at AdLib or SSE or something like that, which were good, and I think I did them once or twice years ago, and they were good, but it was very brief, and you can't really within a couple of hours describe every single, and even nowadays there's a lot of things that I don't know deep diving into it. I spent a wee bit during the lockdown just diving into it, but again, there's no point in diving into it when you're not going to use it practically for a while, because you'll forget.
Yeah, for sure. I do love Digico boards. I wish I had more time with them. I've spent the most amount of time was the SD11, I think.
It's a nice wee board.
Yeah.
If you know how you're working your way around it and you're fast with it.
Yeah, that's it. The speed. I'm just not as quick on them as I am on other boards, but they do sound amazing. You can't deny that.
So, in terms of touring, what's kind of life on the road for you when you're out? Is it what kind of size are you doing? Going around in the splitter van or flying kind of gigs?
Yeah, I've done a lot of flying and splittering and the hotel vibe. The tour I did with Tessa was definitely routed like a bus tour, but we did it in a splitter, which was grueling, I'll be honest. It was tough, and she will not mind me saying that because it was tough for everyone. Drives like Zurich to Paris and things like that. But yeah, that's about it. I have done a bus tour before. I think bus tours are good as long as you have some time to yourself at some point, because being cooped up with people is tough. Any person finds that difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I know that feeling. Especially when you're working with someone in close relationship for quite a period of time, you need that kind of space, and you can't get that in a splitter. For sure, yeah. I love a hotel room as well. I love having like just that moment in the morning to get up and have a coffee and like just read the paper by myself before I get in the van. Like that's just bliss for me. So what would you say is life on the road? What's the most challenging things and advice you could give guys who are going out on the road for the first time? Dry shampoo. Dry shampoo and laundry. Make sure there's laundry stops. That's pretty important. And also just having first aid kits and stuff like that is really important. Wow. I'm trying to think what I would say to budding young me many moons ago. I'm trying to think. If you could look back in hindsight, it's there's a lot of things that you would change. But if you hadn't went through them, you wouldn't be who you are now. Exactly. I think labelling everything that's mine, especially on house consoles, is really important. Like I went through a phase of when I first started touring, always leaving my talkback mic and my talkback XLR in house consoles, and then getting to the next place and being like, okay. So I now have a bright yellow XLR. That is my talkback XLR. So. I'll get a red one. Mine's is red. Nice, yeah, so, that's it. Everything's yellow in my world. So I had a habit of leaving my MacBook charger. That's the worst one. Oh, yeah, and you can't exactly just go and pick up an Apple Mac charger easily and also cheaply. Yeah, that's so expensive. Yeah, your day rate's gone straight away. Exactly. How do you see the difference between working in a venue on a long-term basis with bands coming to you all the time compared to life on the road and touring? What do you prefer as well? I think I love touring. I love seeing new places, and I really love it when I'm touring with someone whose music I genuinely love and who I think
I understand what they're trying to convey with their live show, and I feel like I'm adding to that. That's incredible, and I love being a part of that family and really bonding with people. But, you know, I'm also a human being, and I miss my creature comforts, I miss my record player, and I miss my partner, and I miss, you know, like cooking and stuff like that, being able to eat. But I think the main comparison is that in a venue, you meet a lot of people and opportunities come from that. And also you meet people you wouldn't expect. You mix genres you wouldn't expect. I've mixed genres that I would like never ever listen to.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's fascinating, seeing a whole side of music that I know absolutely nothing about, that I wouldn't mix with usually. So
yeah, it's also the networking involved in it, that with all these the engineers that are coming in daily.
Exactly, yeah.
And I've managed to make some good friendships, and a lot of the guys who have interviewed as part of this series as well, there's been people who I've met who've just came through the door even once or twice over the year. And it's a good way
Will
of...
Blake.
That's how well I'd
I met
recommend
him,
yourself.
on tour, so...
And even Rory as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I have so many friends all over now, so that's cool.
We're the whole of the UK, but actually we're in... it's quite a small network, even though there's a lot of us.
For sure, yeah. I like it when you go to Plaza and you're like, hey.
It's just
That's
an
really
excuse
fun.
to go and talk shop and drink.
Yeah, I love it. I've lost my L Acoustics tote bag. I'm quite livid about that. Lost it in a house move. Because it was really good.
I got, when we bought we've got some Cara, and when we got that, we got some Acoustics t-shirts.
Very cool.
But they must have done a limited edition, small of them. It's got like a V-neck, but it's quite a low-cut V-neck.
Oh.
And it's not my kind of thing.
A V-neck, that's...
Yeah.
Why would you pay more money to print merch with a V-neck? Like, honestly. Sorry, LA, I love you forever and always, but...
It's got a nice kind of dragon skin type thing on it, and then it's just a V-neck down a bit, and I was like, no, I've not got enough chest hair for that kind of...
That's bold, isn't it? You need like a medallion.
Yeah. so it's still sitting there. I think I've got a few of them. Might put them on eBay as a limited edition.
Yeah.
Let me have a look at this last story. So in terms of musicians or venues and on tour, what's kind of your pet hates that musicians do, or the crowd do, or crew do?
Oh,
the things that get on your
such
work.
a good question. Well, I actually have a few things on my table right now that I brought to potentially talk about at some point. And one of the things that's here is actually my Y split. This is one of about 3 I own, and it's got purple tape on it, so I know it's mine. And this is because I get a lot of vocalists with their own effects pedals who don't bring a Y split, so I can split it and send it a clean to Mons. And
Excellent.
It's a mess. It's a disaster. So I think if you're a vocalist with an effects pedal, you need a Y split.
That's a very good idea.
That's
Totally.
I think because it's so tough, and it just makes life really hard if you can't, because I was a musician. I know what it's like to not be able to hear yourself on stage. I know how disarming and scary and disastrous it can be. And I don't want, as an engineer, to do that to someone. But if you're giving me a vocal that's got a great big hall reverb on it, it's got a great big slap delay on it, it's got like some phaser thing on it, if you're a psych band, I cannot send that to Mons that's just not going to go well. So yeah, it's a bit of like a cowboy thing to do, but
no.
It's like, that's probably that. Yeah, pet hates. It's funny, isn't it? Because I feel bad moaning now, because I would do anything to go and work right now.
I know we moan about it, and we'll put up for the things, but yeah, you miss it.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Again, give me a 15-minute 4-band changeover. Anything.
What I do to mix like a 10-band all day right now.
Yeah.
I know, it's funny, but that's probably the biggest pet hate. Or when like it's just Daddages, I get loads of Daddages because I'm a woman and I'm tiny, and I stand on my pelly so that I can see the stage.
I do it too.
Right? It's a good move.
Yeah, I'm vertically challenged. I have to stand on my pelly.
That's exactly it. It's an expensive step. So just Dad's coming like right at the beginning of the first track in soundcheck and being like, I need Tommy's guitar up. And I'm like, I will get to it. I'm the one that gets paid to have an opinion right now. Your opinion is not being hired. So just go and park the car. It's annoying because there's like the local band gigs, you get a heck of a lot more of that. For sure. If it's a touring act and the manager or something's over your shoulder, that's completely different. Different. It's the parents.
Yeah, I want to hear my son. They don't think about anything else. And
I get a lot of, do you really know what every button does? Or do you really know what every fader does? Stuff
and
like that.
And then you go, I have no idea, mate. It's my first day.
Yeah. I go, no, this is a lighting console.
So, I'm not the sound engineer.
No, I don't. Me, no.
Yeah. Do you find you mentioned that about being small and stuff like that, or being a female? Do you get people who have got attitude occasionally? Because
for sure. I've got like some hilarious stories now, but honestly, it just makes me a better engineer because I have no choice but to be a shit hot front of house engineer, because if I'm not, I will go through so much more shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
No, you can swear as much as you like.
I'll have such a harder time, you know?
Yeah.
Like if there's one 4K little spike in Mons during a whole show, that's me forever, you know? So I have to be on it. I have to be really good. And I think that also comes from working in theatre as well, because theatre is tough in audio world. So yeah, I don't know. It's so boring talking about being a woman in music because it's all I ever get asked.
Really?
And it's just, I think that question just kind of solidifies this notion that it's still rare, or that it's still something other, or that I am a novelty or a gimmick, when I'm not. I'm someone that really loves audio and has worked really hard to be where I am. So that's the way.
It's funny because I was in I won't say the venue. I was in a venue here working, and I was on front house, and a female friend of mine was on monitors, and an act turned up who was a touring engineer who had a real attitude because it was a female, and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, are you... He was an older guy, but I was like, are you kidding me? That's like... I just... Straight away, and I thought, does that shit still go on?
Oh, for sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good thing is that word travels really fast in the audio world, and if you are rubbish, then everyone will know about it, and you've shot yourself in the foot. Like, it's as simple as that, so...
Definitely. It's funny because you say that, the word does travel very fast, because there's a lot of engineers that I've never met that I know I know loads about.
There's some TMs that I have heard things about, and I'm like, okay.
And then you turn up and you're on that gig with that person.
For sure.
Oh, you're that person.
It's happened to me before where a manager of an artist has not hired me for a tour for budget reasons, and also I've just not got a very good vibe from them. And then I've seen who they've hired, and I just know that they're on 50 quid a day and they're doing 6 things on the tour. And the band manager has then said to me after the show, oh, you did such a great job, thank you so much. And I was just like, do you not remember speaking to me? Like, do you not wish you had hired me? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny.
It's amazing how they always try and cut the budget, and it's that way of, can you do it for X, Y, and Z? And you're like, well, my rent is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, go haggle with Tesco. Like,
yeah, I know.
Go haggle with Bristol Water. Like,
yeah.
I'm running a business.
You don't get a shop and go, I want to buy this Mars bar. Now, this Mars bar says 99 pence, but I've only got 60 pence. That's all I've budgeted for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's annoying. What kind of advice would you, in general, give anybody who's coming up through the ranks, who wants to get into your position? It'd be interesting from a girl's perspective then, from a female's perspective, if your younger female students are coming into the industry, is things you would give them advice with, of not to take shit as well, but...
Yeah, totally. I would say speak to someone like me who's like so up for having shadows and stuff like that, and find out what your absolute bare minimum like kit should be on a show, because I had to learn through like whispers like what the most useful things to take to a show are. So I would say get yourself like a little pencil case with Sharpies and tape and like fluorescent spike tape, and if you can, even a sniffer sender.
Yeah.
This is one of the first things I ever bought, and I use it. The Sound Tools one.
Oh, right. It's in a different box than the one I've got. That's always wondering what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a normal.
Yeah. Mine's has stopped working though.
Oh, rubbish. Do you need a new back?
One of the LEDs has stopped working.
Oh no, that's a lie.
I know. Sorry, on you go.
So yeah, a pencil case with like that. I know they are like £50, which is quite a lot when you're just starting out to like invest in a thing, but it's really helpful, especially in small venues. So I would say get like I call it a front of house clutch bag, where I have like my Leatherman, sniffer sender, tape, Sharpies, things like that, little screwdriver, and a half decent set of headphones. Get your basic kit ready, and it means that you'll be prepared for situations, which is so important, and it also just makes you feel more kind of involved, you know what I mean? Like more kind of like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. I think if people see that as well, when you turn up to a venue to work and they see that you're ready,
you're in uniform, you've got your bits, like get good, comfortable stage blacks. That's the most important thing. It took me ages to find good stage blacks with pockets, because no women's trousers have pockets. So a bum bag is a good substitute.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing you can be doing now whilst we're obviously not mixing. So.
Yeah, I had really comfy combats that I used to use for a lot of gigs, and I was like, and you know, you just find something that works really well, and they're so good, and then you can't find them again, and you're trying to find some more pairs, and then none,
it's so hard.
None are like that one pair. And I can remember wearing them one day, and I jumped up on stage at the garage, but instead of using the stairs, I legged it up, and this was during a gig changeover, and ripped big massive hole right to the arse, and it was a kiddie gig as well. It was like for Maybell, so it was all under 80s, and I'm standing on stage with my boxers hanging out, and I'm trying to kneel down and coil cables without flashing anything. So secure stage blacks are always advisable.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. I actually just before lockdown got a brand new pair of Steels that are actually black, and I was so excited about them because they're vegan leather, and I have size 3 feet, so finding Steels that size is basically impossible because it's basically a child size of shoe. And I've worn them like 3 times. Wore them moving house, and that's pretty much all the use they got in 2020.
I know.
Sad.
It's my Steelies are, all I ever wore for years, and now I'm like, I can wear my Converse or something else.
Yeah, I've been wearing Vans. It's been sick. I'm not clumping around in boots all the time.
What's any plans for, or anything booked in for this year that's being offered to you? I mean, I know things are dribs and drabs coming back in.
I mean, I'm doing some teaching and that's it really, doing some more stuff for BIM London about tour management, which would be really fun. But gig-wise, no. I mean, I went to a gig I think it was in October. I can find out.
Obviously, was this an outdoor, indoor, social distance type thing?
It was an indoor. Look, there we go, 26th of October. And that was indoors. And that was in the Lanes here in Bristol, which actually has... It's an X32 front of house grim, but it's ARCs and SB28s. So it was so good.
You were as a punter?
Yeah, I just went and hung out. It was really fun. Wow. It was my friend's band, and they were the last band I mixed pre-everything. So it was quite cool for them to be the bookends. A band called Poisonous Birds, by the way. Everyone should listen to them.
It's funny, when we were working, I would not really go and see any bands because you were always busy, and then the last thing you want to do is someone goes, do you want to go see a gig? After you've just done loads of gigs. Whereas now you're just like, yeah, I'd love to. We had tickets to see, like at Glasgow Green was supposed to be Guns N' Roses and Green Day, like within weeks apart, I think it was, at the summer there. And obviously that got cancelled, and I was so gutted because it was like the first time I've bought tickets. I actually even bought tickets. I didn't even ask for freebies.
Bought tickets, yeah.
I didn't even try and pull any production pass favours, which I actually might do. So yeah, we actually paid tickets, and then I'm like, that's typical, the minute buy something and then lockdown happens. But things have been rescheduled. Hopefully things are going to happen this year. I mean, I got a few emails today about some possible festival stuff, hopefully.
Nice, cool.
We'll wait and see.
Exciting.
But before we end, is there anything else, advice-wise, or anything else you feel that you would like to recommend to anybody?
Learn your become a monitor engineer first and learn gain structure and learn your frequencies. You can be doing that now. You can be learning frequencies now before we go back. And that would be a solid base.
Yeah. There's quite a few good apps on, because I've got a few on my iPhone that tests you and goes, because I remember one of my girls asking, Dad, what's this? And I was like explaining it, and she thought this was the saddest thing and didn't get like you're guessing noise. I was like, yes.
But it's a frequency. And get good, I don't have my plugs here, but good molded earplugs. If you're on the train, if you're on a flight, if you're going to a show, just wear good earplugs. You only get one set of ears. Yeah. So you have to look after your audio frequency analyzers, your ears. So yeah.
Do you mix with your molded earplugs then?
If it's an all-dayer, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
If it's something like that. But I do take them out. I'm a bit naughty.
Yeah, no.
If it's a big front of house show, I want to be. Yeah. You know. So.
It depends on the gig for me actually, because it's, as you say, you can get a bit of fatigue, especially if you're mixing a 4 or 5 band.
Yeah, that's it.
Death metal gig. That's the one time I would maybe, because
100%.
Within half an hour, my ears are gone.
Yeah, first 2 songs out and then put them in. Yeah, keep an eye, really.
Yeah, cool. Well, listen, we'll end it there. Thank you very much for your time and your wisdom and your stories. We'll speak again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Before we go, do you want to just remind people about Sound by Fiona, what your web address is?
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Sound by Fiona, and my website is soundbyfiona.com. There's a link on there to sign up to news about workshops, and also my Big Labia Energy merch is on there as well. I have totes and badges. Soundbyfiona.com.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Guys, thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like and comment, and we'll see you next week.